we're lost. Really lost.
Tis dangerous out there in space. Trust no one.
I'll get you home. We'll make a partnership.
You're a Jedi.
All right, welcome to the Skeleton Crew review show for the penultimate episode of the series. We have our first mate with us this evening, and we hope he doesn't stage a mutiny. Pleased to have him back on the channel. It is none other than Shabby Geek. Hello, Shabby. You're right.
Boys. Hi, Martyn and Adam. Yeah, fine.
Good. Right, before we get into episode 7, Shabby, how have you enjoyed this series so far?
I'm loving it. I've got to admit, I'm really, really enjoying it. I think I said it the last time I came on. I was talking about the Ahsoka episode, the Jedi. That I go into these Star Wars series, not comparing it with the original trilogy. I've stopped doing that now, and I think it's because
it's probably the best way, isn't it?
You're never going to get that again. And so I always go into these and I listen. The funniest thing is I listen to the people that slag it before they've even watched it. That doesn't make sense to me at all. So I go in with a neutral kind of thing and, I'll give it a shot. And I've been thoroughly surprised. I really have. I mean, I've got to admit, I always like the simplicity of Star Wars, and it feels like I'm getting it with this one, just a simple story, and does it feel like Star Wars? No, doesn't feel like Star Wars, but it is entertaining. No. It's keeping me going, and I like the characters and I like the story, and I'm loving it, to be honest.
Yeah. Just out of interest, what about it doesn't feel like Star Wars to you? Is there anything that does feel like Star Wars, or
not really? I've got to admit. I mean, even the X-wings that are in it that we've seen from from a few episodes, and it just doesn't have that. I don't know. It's weird for me. I think I've spoke to you two guys about this before. There's an aura around Star Wars. Sometimes you'll read a book and you have that Star Wars feel, if you will, or you'll go to a convention, you'll have that Star Wars feel. It doesn't necessarily have to be the original movies. And I'm not getting that from here. But what I am getting though is entertainment, and I'd rather sit there and watch a Star Wars show every week that I'm enjoying, that I'm liking, that I can debate and talk about, than I am hating, because but we'll see. There's one more episode to go, and this happened last time with me with Ahsoka. I really loved Ahsoka to the last episode. It was like a circus. I hated that last episode. So but
it is I'm gonna say it is interesting because pretty much everybody, well, not everybody, but most people that we've had on talking about the show have said that it's a great show, but it doesn't have the Star Wars feels, or it doesn't have all the Star Wars elements. And while it does
could be a standalone show.
Yeah, exactly. It could be a standalone show. And while it does have the white transitions and the hyperspace effects, and all that stuff, even though it has those elements of Star Wars, I've come around over the course of the series to feel the same way now, because I didn't feel like that initially. But yeah, if you took I think Stu said, if you take the Star Wars name out of it, you'd still be like rushing to watch that when it came out on a Wednesday. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I think what it is about that is about, I don't know what certain Star Wars fans are looking for them, because you'll always get that thing, it's just fan service. So it's just, so they'll try something different and then we're like, it's not Star Wars. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. So there's a give and take between them both. But I'm enjoying it, and I've got a 12-year-old and I've been watching it with him, and he's loving it as well. I don't fall. I've got to admit, this is just my opinion. I don't fall for this. It's just for kids and just for that. It's for everybody in a way. The actual franchise that we love, we all watched when we were 6, 7, 8, and we've grown up with it. And I think this will do the same type of thing. It's got that kiddie element in it. But name me a franchise that we love that hasn't. Transformers the movie was a cartoon, and we all love them. And
I was going to say, no, I totally agree, and I think I said it in our first episode that this could be the gateway for a brand new generation of Star Wars fans that, like the new Star Wars, if you like, and that's probably the wrong way to put it, but this is their first stepping stone into Star Wars in general, and it will lead them to watching the films and the series that we watched when we were younger. So it's always nice that when there is a bit of positivity about a show, because that it's going to catch a certain new audience that have never watched Star Wars before, and I'm gratified to know that the franchise is going to go on regardless in what condition we all think it's in. It's good to know that perhaps it's going to keep going in some form or another.
I 100% agree, and I think the majority of us do like it. And But it's like I said, just to go back to what I said before, it's nice to come out of the show enjoying the half an hour instead of going, oh, that was crap, and I'll never watch it. I'd rather do it this way, and I really am enjoying it. It's a great show.
And almost you're almost finishing the episodes wanting more as well. I don't know. We've said before, like they feel short, but could that be a good thing? Keeps us wanting.
I don't know really, because I think these episodes. I think that's one of the problems with the Star Wars TV shows. We're yearning for a little bit more. We're yearning for, and sometimes if you take away the credits, whatever, you're looking at 20, 25 minutes for a show. Which, listen, I understand it. But there's no. I think that's one of the problems with it, because you'll watch things like, I don't know, a Game of Thrones, or you'll watch something like Silo or whatever, and there are hour shows, and you develop a lot into it. But then people will turn around and go, it's a bit slow, that, and maybe it's because they've made it an hour, So I think as well, I did the same with Kenobi when I was complaining about how short Kenobi was. But when you watch them all together, they're great, because then it's not as if. Nicest thing about streaming, you have to wait a couple of years to watch it again. You can watch it again straight away when they're all out, which I'll probably do with this one. So it won't feel like 20, 25 minutes episodes. It'll just be a continuation.
Absolutely. Every series that I've rewatched since since it's been on, and we've watched it all in a row, has, regardless of if it were actually the Acolytes kind of aside, but everything else I've rewatched, I've enjoyed it more because I was able to just keep watching it as if it was a movie, if that makes sense. So
it makes perfect
I totally
sense.
agree. Yeah.
But that's the thing about this one. There is a story here. And that's what I know. Yeah. We've discussed this before, and I've watched, the lads that you've had on. And this is a great show, by the way. You've done a really good job this year, guys. I'm enjoying it a lot. But it's nice because I think that's one thing we all have in common, whether we like it or nitpick or whatever. There is a story here. And I think that's what the problem with the Acolyte was. Yeah, you can say about the acting and the this and that, but it was terrible story. The story was all over the place. This one, I think they've just kept it to one type of story with these 4 kids going on this adventure, trying to get back home, and it's worked. I think it's kept me interested every week. So
so that being said, then what have you rated it so far out of 10?
I'd say honestly
episode 7.
I would say about 8, 9 all the way through. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I'm coming out of it going, yeah, that was good. And then there's a few nitpicks, and I'll when we go through nitpicks, there's a few things that a little bit like this, but overall, and it's funny watching it with a child because he's loving it. He's like, "Oh, this is awesome," and this is what it's all about. A lot of people say, "Yeah, well, it feels like the Goonies, or it feels like E.T., or it feels brilliant." That's what we grew up.
That's it.
And I can't. I'm just my opinion again. I've never understood that people are comparing it with other things from the 80s, but that's what they all did. Everything we've watched has been compared to something else, like an homage or something. So, all these 80s shows and movies that we loved as kids all getting entwined into this, brilliant. I have no issue with it at all.
Yep, I agree 100%.
Definitely. Right then, episode 7 then. We're going to be in so much trouble. What were your thoughts initially on episode 7? You enjoyed it?
I enjoyed it. It's a little bit dark, I'll say that. There's a few things on it that was a little bit nitpicky, and I'll get to that as we go through it. First of all, the beginning was just straight E.T. Straight E.T. I absolutely loved the start of it when you saw the flashlights or the torches through the forests, and she's got even the little thing looked like the beacon from E.T. And I just thought this is superb, and the way it was filmed, like panning through the forest, and you see all the. I just thought this is awesome. I love the pirates. I think the pirates are great, and I know I've heard a few people on your channel go, "Oh, it's the accents." I love that. I love the fact that they sound like pirates.
I've said it.
That's what they are, So, a little bit dark though. I mean, Brutus's death for one, that was a little bit dark the way he did it. But I think the way Jodnar, has been talking to the kids. Sometimes as I'm watching it, and especially when I'm watching with my little boy, it feels like it's a bit too much. You know what I mean? I'm going to kill your mum and dad, and I'm going to do this, and I'm like, steady on, mate. It's a kid's, you know what I mean? But no, I thoroughly enjoyed the episode.
Yeah, he's got to have that darkness about him, though. I think that's sort of imperative to his character and his almost development across the series. I mean, we'll get on to Jod in a little bit, but Martin, what about you? Did you enjoy this one?
Yeah, I did. And I actually, I think I could possibly say that the whole first 15 minutes where they're trying to get down to Atatin, that's probably the most Star Warsy I've felt since watching this, because there's ships chasing ships, there's weapons going off, there's the look of the special effects of when they're flying down to the planet through that sort of plasma storm or whatever it is. I was like, again, the visuals are just absolutely incredible, and everything about this show looks beautiful. But the thing I took away from this episode, because we finally got to sort of see the pirates again, but in better light, was how many of those would make great action figures. I was thinking you could get the whole band of like 20 of them, all different aliens, as action figures, as pirate action figures. I want those. I really want those.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. Again, if I've got a little nitpick, which I'll get out of the way now, is the length of the episode. It was a case of, why couldn't they just have, and I say this every week, why didn't they just take 2 episodes, plop them together, like the last 2 episodes? They could have done that. And I think if they'd done it with this episode and the finale, which I know we haven't seen yet, and made it like a 50-minute to an hour length, and just put out 4 episodes. I know they've got to do it to create content for the channel, but for Disney Plus, but I think if they'd have done like just 4 parts, so 2 parts per part, if that makes sense, I think everyone would love the show even more, because it's almost like they've taken the story and chopped it into 8, and really it's a story that's 4 parts for me so far. So yeah, that's my only little nitpick, but it's something I say every week. So
I agree, because you sit down, don't you, with your cup, and you're getting ready, and then by the time you're into it, it's over, and you're like, it's over.
Yeah.
But maybe you're upset about it being over because it's so good. You're like, I want more. I want to watch this. And it's funny what you said about the aliens too, because I think that's one of the things that us Star Wars fans found lacking in a few other TVs. There's not many aliens and all that. And as toy collectors, Black Series and vintage collection collectors, where this is what we want, and it droids and aliens. So I agree with that 100%. You could have all those pirates would be superb.
Yeah, there's some sort of serious fan service going on with those guys, isn't there, with all the pirates. I really liked the big Quarren guy that they sent out to do the scouting. Like, just watching him
the
get
guy with the eye patch. I think that's cool. Awesome. Yeah.
I was going to say, he was the guy they sent out and got blown up in the ship, was the guy who last episode said he was like saving up so he could open his own little farm on his home planet. And I thought it was quite funny that he's the one that got blown up.
I'd forgotten about that. Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
I did like the planet at the start, though, with the storms or whatever, and that like the Atatic was in that planet. If you will. I thought that was pretty good, because all the way through this series, you have been sat there once it's finished and gone, how can no one find this planet? It kind of reminded me of Geonosis in Attack of the Clones, remember? And you notice, and then they found it more or less straight away. But this one is done because you can see something there, but it's not what you think, and I thought that was really impressive.
Yeah, they've thought about it well, but they've also, we've mentioned it pretty much every week now, but the cinematics in this series are so good, and that especially really paid off.
It looks like quality, doesn't it? And I think that's one of the things. You heard about all the money on the Acolyte, and you were like, where did he spend that? But this, completely different. There was one scene in it, though, when they were going down on the lift and they were going to the vaults, and that didn't look as good behind Jude Law, if you will. That was a little bit off. But apart from that, the CGI in this has been superb. It really has.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say another thing that I liked is that they sort of did a few throwbacks to the first episode, like where KB uses the voice changing device that she's got. She uses that. Obviously, it doesn't end well for our Captain Brutus, but
no, that was a shocker. That so
it really is Jod continuing his ruthless side, isn't it? Yeah.
There you go. You can have that for free, Martyn. You can have that.
I was going to say the Brutus thing. I think this is another thing that it's tiny nitpicks, not a big thing at all. Is in a lot of these Star Wars shows they've created on Disney Plus, they've created these characters that you're like, oh, okay, yeah, this is a good character.
Mm.
And you're thinking, oh, okay, we're going to get an episode soon where this character shines and they're going to really use him because they look really good and they've got this aura around them. And then all of a sudden they get killed or they never show up again. And I have to say, although it was a dark moment, I was actually really disappointed that he just killed Brutus. I understand why it had to happen, but it was nothing was really made of it. And you're kind of like, oh, okay, so Brutus has just been killed.
You think they'd learn from the Darth Maul days? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I agree 100%. You know,
Yeah,
even Phasma, I loved that. It was funny because in between Force Awakens and Last Jedi, there was a book called Phasma, and it's one of the best books it's written. It's really good. It's by Delilah Lawson, and it tells out how she became who she is, and she survived, and the planet she's from. So when I watched it in The Last Jedi, I thought, oh, this will be great if they've taken it from this, and you get to see more of it. And then he killed her off, and I thought, oh, okay. So I would have said the same about Brutus. The thing about it as well, if you kept him alive, you could have gone like, I mean, I understood that Jodno had to take over whatever, because you can tell in the story that's where it's going, but you could have had a spin-off with him or brought him back in another kind of, or in the second season or whatever. But
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I was thinking the exact same thing with Brutus, because well, like you've both said, like it was such a cool looking character, and it would have been perfect to just keep him going, but that's just how it is, I suppose. But Jod then sort of continues his ruthlessness, doesn't he, by chopping SM-33's head clean off with the lightsaber. We actually get to see him use it.
Well, all the way through it, you think to yourself, is he a Jedi, isn't he? And so when he picked up the lightsaber, I was noticing his stance and the way, proper Star Wars nerds, you can tell the way he holds his saber. And I still couldn't work it out, because the way he took his head off was perfect, but the way he holds it out and so forth, I was like, there's something there here with this guy. Is he a Jedi, or has he? The worst thing is ever since Ahsoka, and they've told you that everyone can use the Force, you're kind of in two minds now. Like, does he know it, but is he not trained, and that kind of thing. But what a character. I think Jude Law's done a great job with him. And but I just can't work it out. Sometimes he's very close to these kids and he's very nice, but the next time he's like screaming at him, if you will, and holding knives to him. And do you know what I mean? It's
He's really sort of manipulated them as he's gone, hasn't he?
Really has, yeah. Which is great, I suppose. I mean, he is a pirate, and I suppose that's he's definitely his character. But I am enjoying him. I think he's doing a good job, and it's hard as well, especially when you get such a famous guy as Jude Law, because sometimes, especially in Star Wars, you think these guys might take him out. It looks like Lizzo did, and Christopher Lloyd did, and Jack Black did in The Mandalorian. When I heard Jude Law, I thought, oh, are we going to go? But no, I think he's done such a good job, and the story's been so good, it doesn't take me out of it that he's Jude Law, if you will. So
but then, I mean, we've made like a lot of predictions doing this, and I don't think we've got a single one right yet. Do you think he's going to come good? Like, is there a redemption for him?
That's the thing. Like I just said, it's hard, because one minute there's been a few episodes where he's really close to these kids, and I think, oh, this is awesome that they found somebody like this. But the next minute, he's like proper goes off, and I hope he gets. I don't know. It depends on the last. I'd like to know who he actually is first. What's his background story, and then, because if he was a Jedi and he's had to be on his own, and obviously the pirates took him in and that kind of thing, I wouldn't want him to finish him off. No, I think I'd like to keep him alive, if you will. But I don't know. It's hard, that, isn't it? It's I'd love to think he was a Jedi. I think that'd be a cool, because usually you find Jedis and like, oh, I've given up the Force, but I'm still. He hasn't. He's gone the completely different route, and pirates and this
pirate Jedi.
Yeah, that'd be cool, though, wouldn't it? So we'll see.
Yeah. What do you think, Martin? Is there any chance he can redeem himself now?
I don't think so. I think he's that. This episode was actually, when I was watching it, I felt really shocked. I think Shabby said the same. I was shocked at some of the things he was doing, and I think with one episode left, there's literally no way he can be redeemed. I think I'm not sure he'll possibly die, but I think he'll escape somehow for season 2 or something. I don't know, but there's no redemption for him after this. He's out for himself, and if he'll help others if his own self-interests are served, and the only way he would be redeemed in other people's eyes, the characters, I mean, not us, is they would think he was doing something nice, but really he's doing it for himself. So no, and I think that final scene where he stood in front of all of the kids and their parents, and you just see his hand come out to the side and the lightsaber ignite. That is an absolute shot for shot carbon copy of when Anakin walks into the Jedi Temple, and all the little kids say Master Skywalker. You know, I mean, we joke about that scene all the time, and you know, it's an exact copy of that scene. So I think that is there for a reason, because they don't do stuff like that by accident. And in terms of him being a Jedi, I'm still maintaining he's not a Jedi. I think he's got some sort of robotic hand or something that's got some sort of magnetic device in it that enables him to grab stuff. Because if he was a Jedi, so many of the situations he's been in, like being captured by the pirates, or you know, all the sort of dodgy situations he's been in throughout the series, if he was a Force user, he could have found other ways of getting out of them. You know, Jedi mind tricks, for example, all sorts of stuff. So I just think, I don't think he's a Jedi, and I must admit I'll be a little bit disappointed if he is a Jedi now.
Would you? I go the other way. I'd like, because it's a different story, and the thing why I'm unsure about it is because redemption's part of Star Wars lore. I mean, from Vader, even up to what is it, Reva in Kenobi, you know, it's the same thing, redemption, and so I'm not sure what they're going to do with him, but no, I go the other way. I'd like him to be a Jedi, but as long as they do a backstory of why he became this, you know, why he became this pirate, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I reckon maybe a Padawan. I reckon he might have been a Padawan. He's not fully, you know, not full Jedi. Maybe a Padawan. Pirates got hold of him. Yeah. He's become a pirate. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's maybe
a bit like the Star-Lord thing in Guardians, isn't it? The way the pirates took Star-Lord, and you know, he became something, but he still has an element of goodness in him. You know. So I think we'll see.
But whether he gets redeemed, I'm not sure. And I quite like him as a bad guy. I think it makes for a different, you know, it makes for a really different sort of story. I mean, we were all expecting him to side with the kids at some point, and he may still do that. But as things stand, I'm enjoying him. I think it's fun to see him as a ruthless character, and I want to see him continue that. But he's called for the supervisor in this episode. He wants to meet with the supervisor. Have we got any ideas as to who the supervisor might be? Are we thinking Tack Renard?
I don't know. It's hard. It's funny so because you saw them all looking at the ship that was coming or whatever, and I thought, who is it? Do you know what I mean? And I'm not sure whether it's going to be someone we know, over the simple reason the way they built it up at the end of this episode. You know, like a cliffhanger, if you will. I have no idea at all. I was thinking, could it be? I think this is a Republican thing in it. The Republic have it, because I was thinking first of all Empire, but it's not. It's not an Empire place, and I think the coins gave it away, and you know, and the vaults and everything else. So maybe, I don't know. I was thinking Mon Mothma. Could it be her? You know, it's only how long is this? 5-10 years after Return of the Jedi, so it could be. But I don't know. I'm leaning more towards that. So someone we know.
I wonder if it's the actual owner of the lightsaber, and they might get it back in some way.
Maybe.
But that was found in Tack Renard's.
It was
pirate lair. So, Martin, what do you think, Martin?
Okay, I have a theory, and obviously, did everyone recognise the supervisor's voice was Stephen Fry?
No, that's who it was.
Yeah, it was Stephen Fry.
Was it definitely him? Have you?
Yeah, I checked. I texted you and said that was Stephen Fry, and I said I didn't check it, so I went back and checked, and it was in the credits.
It was
Stephen Fry.
Okay.
Yeah, which gave me like moment of terror, because I was thinking Jack Black and Lizzo when I thought, oh no, you know, it's too real world for me, Stephen Fry. But I'm going to hold my judgment until I see him, or if we see him. But what I think, and this is an out there theory, but I think the original pirate captain crash landed on that planet 1,000-odd years ago. I don't know how many, a very long time ago, and he basically changed it in such a way so he's actually the supervisor. So he's obviously wouldn't be alive 1,000 years later, but he somehow got his his consciousness or memory or whatever, his brain into the computers, which quite clearly now, I think Dave from last week was right. It's definitely a planet being run by droids, and there's no human element to it. So I think that the supervisor is the ancient pirate captain in computer form somehow. And he's doing that very age-old thing that pirates did, is when they finally had a big horde, they ended up staying there and dying with the horde in the cave or whatever. Whatever they, you'd always hear the stories or the fictional stories where the pirate would have a pirate horde, and and you'd find their bodies there years later, sat in a chair.
Yeah.
And I think it's something along those lines. So I think we'll find out actually it's owned. The planet is run unknowing by the people, obviously, that are there, but it's run by that pirate captain from 1,000 years ago. I know it's a bit of an out there theory, but it just popped in my head because I thought, Stephen Fry might just be a sort of a fake out, but then, you could get him to do a pirate R, couldn't you? And as a droid or something. I don't know. I just wanted to throw that theory out there because it's just something that pops in my head, and I'm probably completely wrong, but yeah.
Wim's dad said something though, didn't he? Wim's dad said they're not supposed to know till they graduate or something like that. So but so I was wondering, well, what do they tell everybody what's really going on after they graduate? But I was unsure about that. When the ship came down, the Cinder, and it was on that lawn, and that lawn came up, there was loads of people falling off the lawn. So obviously they didn't know what was going to happen, and the way they felt. And I thought that's pretty cool. And I wanted to ask you two something. The way those vice grips grabbed hold of that ship and they stayed on that, the way it grabbed it, as if to say, this ain't going anywhere now. What do you think? Do you have an idea of what that was about? Because I couldn't work that part out.
I think when they graduate, they're told the reason for the planet being there is to create the wealth for the Republic. I don't think they're told any more than that. I don't think they're told anything about
and their purpose, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So their reason for being on that planet is to create the galactic credits, if you like, and there's probably more things than galactic credits that they're creating, because when they went down in that lift thing, there was all sorts of stuff going on down there. I had no idea what was going on. So I think, and I don't think they probably had contact with because I honestly think this is the old Republic, the times before that we even see in the prequels. So these people have lived generations and generations, and they've probably never haven't seen anyone from the Republic for 1,000 years, but they keep working and working because that's what they're indoctrinated to do, because everyone except for Wynn seems to be quite happy just to go along their lives and carry on doing their mundane tasks every day. So I think we'll find that when they came down in the ship, this was the first time any of those people, with the exception of the droids, had ever seen a ship land on the planet. So that hence when that thing came up, everyone was falling off because, like you say, Shabby, no one knew it was there.
No, I thought that was a cool touch. That little things like that. I think that's what this show's done really, really well. In a way, though, it's like Fort Knox. We've never been, but we know it's there. And I suppose this is what this place is like as well. So, but yeah, it's fascinating to me.
Yeah, it's interesting, and that's the main thing. It's really interesting, and I want to know.
There's mystery, isn't there? And there's been mystery from the start, and it keeps us coming back. Well, I mean, not just that, but we just want to know what's going on each week. We're like, so what about this? What about that? But yeah.
I've found there's no filler episodes though in this. There's not been a filler episode. It's a continuation. Mandalorian had a couple of fillers here and there and so forth, which it was fine. It wasn't a problem. But this hasn't at all. It's stuck with the story, which I've really appreciated. Especially waiting, when you watch a 25-minute show once every week, I think that's what's kept me going. I want to know more because they haven't come away from it.
Yeah. What about the fate of SM-33 then? Are we going to see him again? Is he going to be repaired?
Yeah,
more than likely.
It's a Star Wars thing. You don't kill. There's only LL-337, but then she became part of the Falcon, so they don't really kill droids, do they, in Star Wars? So I like the character, to be honest. I think it's really well done, and it's a different personality on a droid. I think Star Wars has always been brilliant at that, personalities in droids.
That was quite amusing when John said that's not how it works, and then SM-33 just like punches him in the side of the helmet, and he's knocked out cold. I really
Brilliant.
enjoyed that bit because I didn't
Yeah.
see that coming at all. It was another one of those. Oh, didn't expect that, but that was a really
Yeah.
good moments of the episodes. Yeah, it was really good. But yeah, Disney have got toys to sell, so he'll be coming back for season 2.
Yeah,
Are you thinking there's going to be a season 2 then? Because I thought
I
this
hope
was
so.
supposed to be a standalone series one series and one and done.
Well, I listened to an interview the other day from the 2 creators of the show, and they said that they've got an outline for a second season, and it takes place a few years after this season because obviously the kids. This was made actually prior to the Acolyte being made, believe it or not, and so they've bared in mind that the kids are going to be a lot older, but they have to wait to see if this show has been successful enough before they go to Lucasfilm and say, "Do you want to do a second season?" So
yeah,
I think I don't know what the viewing numbers and stuff are, but as
It's not
Shabby
that
said,
good. Over here, they were saying that the ratings for it is down,
shame.
which is a shame because it's the same as Andor. I think
Mm.
we've had so much stuff in Star Wars that's just put so many people off, and I think the fan base sometimes as well, the way we all slate it and we all hate it, that kind of does it too. But I've never been one. I'll make my own mind up whether I like something or not.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because I think this is one of the best shows that they've done, to be honest. You know, for entertainment and story and to keep you. And they were saying that the ratings is not many people are watching it, but you never know. It's on streaming, and it might, like Andor. When Andor first did it, until word of mouth came out that everybody was loving it, well, the majority of people, it started to tick over. So this might do the same thing. It might be a bit hard to do one though, and I think it's going back to the Goonies comparison. I think that's why we never saw a sequel of that, is because what else can they do? Do you know what I mean? The story finished, if you will. So I'd like to see it. I'd like to see these kids on another. I think these kids are great. I can't. You know, usually, especially when it comes to Disney and kids, you're like, oh no,
and Star Wars and kids.
You know what I mean? And but there's no yippee or anything like that. Like there was, you know.
Yeah.
So I think the kids are fantastic in it. All four.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good.
And they've still been kids. I think somebody mentioned it. Dave or Des mentioned it last week. How they were jumping on the bed, and this week they were like running around because they knew they were going home. You know, they are still kids.
Yeah, I think they're
the
brilliant,
day,
and it's nice it's nice to look through there. Andor is great, but Andor is a bit more adult and everything else. You know, it's like deep into Star Wars lore for us. That's why we love it. You know, I mean that you got to be hardcore to get most aspects of Andor, but this you don't. And you made a point before, Martin. It brings in, because like I said, my little lad has seen the movies and all that, but he's not hardcore Star Wars like we are. You know, he won't read a book on it and he won't spend every day talking about it, but he's loving this.
Yeah.
You know, so I suppose if I ever told him, well, there's a season 2 coming, he'd watch it. He'd be like, yeah, I'm banging to this. But I suppose most people did that with The Mandalorian too, weren't there? And there's a lot more spouses and friends and family that weren't really interested coming along and watching with it. And I think this will do it as well. I hope it will, because I'd like to see a second season.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Martin, before we go on to our ratings, have you got any like little notes or Easter eggs, anything for us this week?
I had a few things. Now, I don't know if you two noticed the droid that was talking to Jod as they were going down the lift. You probably won't remember his voice, but I couldn't find the name of the actor who did the voice of that droid. And if you get time, go back and listen to it as he's asking if he can see the administrator, etc. Now that voice for me is 100. I'm nearly 100% sure that is the same actor who did the voice for Lama Su, who was the Prime Minister of Kamino in Attack of the Clones. It's so dead on, and again, it's something only like someone who's watched Star Wars too many times would pick up on. But I've been trying to find it on the internet, and I can't find who voiced that character, but I'm 100% sure. So
there was a line Jude Law said as well, wasn't there, in that part that felt like when he was at Kamino, he said something like, "Yeah, that's why I'm here." Or something like that reminded me of that. So it might have been that person,
But and I think the droid said, we've got 1,100 and units, which is just like him saying we've prepared 250,000 clones, So I think that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. So it was great to see those pirate fighters back that we saw in The Mandalorian season 3. I really like those, and I want a vintage collection toy of those. Hasbro.
Yeah, I want that.
Yeah, there was a couple of Easter eggs. Obviously, there's the most obvious one in the world when Neil's mum at the beginning says, "I have a bat," and then gets shot.
Yeah.
with the
Yeah,
stun bar.
yeah.
That was quite good. I quite enjoyed
Yeah.
that. This is I'm well chuffed I picked this one up. When the security droid's going down the lift with Jod, he asks how many of these vaults are there in total, and the droid says there's 1,139, and if you minus the one that they're going into, that is obviously 1138, which
Yeah.
is a massive Star Wars Easter egg. In most of the films, I think they use the phrase 1138, and obviously it's George Lucas's first film. So yeah, they were all my Easter eggs.
Pretty good ones.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, impressive.
Shall we rate this episode then, Shabby? What have you given it?
I would say this one 7.5. It was
Okay.
a few little things. Like I said, I thought it got a little bit too dark. Do you know what I mean? Just a touch, especially when, like I said, and I don't think it's aiming at kids, but the majority of people are saying this is a kid's show. It just got a little bit dark. I didn't like Neil's dad. The look of Neil's dad. It looked too real. It looked
Too
too
elephant-like. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so. And Neil and his mum, I know they're not the same as the Mac Tree, but you can kind of, oh yeah, that's based on that. But Neil's dad looked exactly like an elephant, if you will.
Yeah.
So I thought, it wasn't, and like I said, the CGI has been absolutely flawless through this whole episode, except for the lift part. It just didn't look right. It just a touch off, which again, nitpicking. That's all I'm doing. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. So about 7.5 for this one.
Nice. Martin, what have you given it?
Yeah, I actually liked the. I'm going to give it the same rating as Shabby, 7.5. But it's the thing I loved actually was the darkness. I thought it was great to see a bit of darkness because, as everyone knows, my favorite characters are always the bad guys. So I actually liked I liked it so much because it shocked me that he was actually being like that. I wasn't expecting it. I, like everybody else, was expecting this whole redemption arc where, in the final 2 episodes he'd realized what he was doing was wrong. But no, he doubled down and became even more evil than he was before. So
it's that tear down Wim's eye, though. I thought, I'm going to smack you, Jude Law. Shouting at these kids until that poor little lad with tear down his eye. I was like, oh no. Got Shabby that one. Got me. I thought, oh yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it was great. But the reason I won't give it any higher than 7.5, again, I really enjoyed this episode because, again, it's a setup episode, essentially, isn't it? It's putting all the chess pieces in place.
Yeah. My rating, if that's all right. Which I really enjoyed this episode, and I'm going to give it an 8.5, which for me, I'm hoping that means that the finale next week is going to blow my mind. I don't know. We'll see. Shall we do a little prediction as to what might happen in the finale? Shabs?
Go on, then. Let's go for it. I'm the same as you guys. I'm all over the place when it comes to finales. I just hope it's a good one. I've watched so many of these shows that it comes to the finale, like the Book of Boba Fett finale. Like there's meant to be this war and 13 people got off a bus to have a fight in it. It was like, what is this? Oh, Ahsoka. I just thought Ahsoka's finale was so bad. I don't know. I think it will stay a secret, this place. I think it has to, especially because we've gone into. This is the thing about Star Wars, with the way it goes back and forth and so forth. Sometimes you'll watch like the sequels, regardless whether you like them or not. There's no mention of this place in there. There's nothing in there, So I think it remains a secret. I don't know so I think that might be the end of the pirates in a way. I think they all something might happen to them to keep this place a secret, because I think these pirates aren't just going to give up if they fail this time. They'll probably come back, or that's what might make the second season. Oh, we'll try again. You know what I mean? So, but my prediction is that the Republic have waited to keep this place a secret forever, and I think they'll go through the lengths to keep it the way it is, quiet and this and that and out of the way. So, but I do think we're going to see someone that we know turn up in the last episode. I do. Just the build up. The way they built it up. Like I agree what you said. The way they ended this one was to waiting for this one, but the way they did it, it's like it's got to be someone we know that's turning up. So we'll see. But that's my prediction.
Yeah, Martin.
Yeah. Well, I don't think anybody knows about this planet and hasn't known about this planet for over 1,000 years. I don't think the old Republic, sorry, the Republic of the time of the prequels knew about it. I don't think the Empire knew about it, and I don't think the New Republic know about it. I think it's literally been a secret for that long. And I agree with Shabby. I definitely think we've probably seen the end of the pirates, except for Jod, who's going to somehow escape, and the credits will roll. The kids will be back on the planet. Whatever will happen, and then we'll have an end credit scene where Jod's escaping in a shuttle or something like that, and he gets picked up by a mysterious ship. And on this mysterious ship is someone related to perhaps the remnants of the Empire that will become the First Order, and we'll then discover the second series will be about the First Order going back to Atat in all the remnants of the Empire, getting the money, and then that money is used in order to create the First Order fleet that we see in the sequel trilogies. And I hate to bring up sequels because I'm not a big fan, but in order to make everything connect, in order to make it connect, that's the only thing I can see where they would have got the money in order to build that in massive fleet that they've got in the sequel trilogy, especially Rise of Skywalker. So I think that's gonna be the end of the episode. We're going to see someone we know. Perhaps it will be Grand Admiral Thrawn or Captain Pelion, or perhaps what was the name of the gingerhead officer in the sequel trilogy? Hux, yeah. We saw Hux's father, didn't we, in The Mandalorian? So it could be him or something like that. So that's my out there call for the finale.
Which is a good point, because it's a big part of the Aftermath books is his father. So that and it's right at this time, more or less. So yeah, that's a good point.
Well, I think that's quite, like you say, it's out there. I think it's really out there. I think whether they've sort of got that in mind to like connect the series to the sequels, or to connect it to the actual universe in general, I don't know. I feel like, they've said that this could be like their own standalone thing, and it's not going to have anything to do with anyone else. I just don't know. But I don't know. Maybe we'll see a cameo from somebody that we've seen before. I don't know. Potentially get the X-Wings in. We'll see some Carson Teva again. I don't know.
Well, you see, that's just why I differ from you a little bit, because I do think the Republic know about it. I think they know they know this place, and I know they know about it, and I think that's how the rebellion was formed, as big as it was, especially because people are going, oh, they've never had any money. How do they get all these ships? And how do they? I think this is where it comes from, and I think heads of that we know, like Mon Mothma and so forth, they set up this thing, or it could be an old Republic thing that they know about if anything should happen and so forth. So as long as it ends, great. I mean, if it does, this show's been a huge success for me. If the ending's really good, then it's been a great success. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I think that's all we got time for this evening. Shabby, what have you got coming up on your channel? Anything?
Let me see. Yeah, we've got a Return of the Jedi live stream next Wednesday. So Si wanted to do one talk about Return. So we've got loads of guests on, and we're going to talk about our love of Si's love of Return of the. So our Si will talk for hours about it. So that'd be a long stream. And then on Monday, Vintage Toy Rush and Scuba Pete got the Robo School, the new Mark Skeletron Robo School. So we're going to unbox that and have a look at that on Monday.
Awesome stuff. We will leave a link to your channel in the description below. But
thank you.
Otherwise, thank you so much for coming on and chatting that with us. Always great to have you on our channel.
It's refreshing, and it's refreshing to actually talk about a Star Wars thing that we all like, that we're all on board with. It's like I said, the only things I've had a problem with this thing is nitpicks. It's nothing. It doesn't mean it, but so to me that's a success. It's been great.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, thanks to everyone for watching as well. Make sure you comment on any thoughts that you had on this episode, and don't forget to come back next week for the finale. Bye.